What's up, everybody? I'm Rick.
And I'm Anna, and welcome to our review of the 1939 movie Gone with the Wind. Come have fun with us, and don't forget to subscribe. Released on December 15, 1939, Gone with the Wind is an MGM epic historical romance film adapted from the 1936 novel of the same name by Margaret Mitchell. The film tells the story of a manipulative woman and a roguish man who conduct a turbulent romance during the American Civil War and Reconstruction periods. I mean, I already know the answer to that question, but for the audience sake, what did you think of this movie?
This movie. So, let me say it like this. This is a movie with great actors, very interesting characters, stunning visual.
Good music also.
Yes. Oh, damn. If this movie is not an apology to the Confederation and its institution, I don't know what it is.
I would personally maybe even take it half a step further and say that the main storyline that we're following is also very interesting. And you can't ignore the circumstances, the background on which it happens.
Yeah, I think they're too intertwined, right? Because I do agree. That's why I said the characters are interesting, right? The position they're put in and the choices they make are interesting. But it is very married with the rest of what's happening that they simultaneously talk about and not talk about. And of course, We're kind of beating around the bush here, but this is a movie that happens, like the synopsis says, before, during, and after the American Civil War. Slavery, which was a big element of the Civil War, is barely even an element of this movie.
Right, and it's really striking to me that you make a movie in which the Civil War plays such an important role, and you don't even say what the Civil War was about.
Yeah, but all they say, though, is that the Northern, the Union, they're evil, they're coming to invade us.
Right.
They showcase these slaves. We know they're slaves. They don't say it. Happy to work for their masters, right? They don't complain about anything. They even kind of make it seem like their situation is way worse afterward. I don't know.
Things were better before for everyone, including the slaves.
And this is the central message of the movie, which is why I'm saying that you can't divorce the story from this. Because even the title at the beginning says, right, this period, right, before the Civil War, it's a period of beauty and blah, blah, blah. It's like a dream now, gone with the wind, right?
A civilization gone with the wind.
Yeah, so that nostalgia about the good old times when we had slaves on the plantation, it is present throughout the whole movie. After they've lost the war, every character left and right is like, man, do I miss the good old days? And they never say what the good old days were. They never talk about the slaves, but do I miss them?
And of course, we talk about an adaptation of a novel, so the story is that of the novels. A very good adaptation, people say, who have read the novel. And I thought it's an interesting fact to mention that the story was being pitched for theatrical adaptation before the book was even out. So I kind of gave me, I don't know if that was a common practice, I don't know if it's a common practice today, but it somehow seems to me like there was a definite intention of taking this story nationwide.
Yeah.
And, putting that message out there.
It's funny you say it's a faithful adaptation and it's recognized as such. Maybe too faithful? Because for the movie to be 4 hours, I assume that they tried to take out as little as possible. Maybe you should take out more. The movie is long. 4 hours is a long time to sit there and watch.
I have to tell you, it's long, yes, but I feel like it's a well-constructed story. So that you don't feel like it's long because
I felt the length.
You've been there for 4 hours.
Yeah. It's a hard thing to balance, right? I watch Lord of the Ring, Return of the King, and then it's like 3.5 hours or more. Maybe some people will disagree, but I don't really feel it, right? I don't come out of it and be like, wow, I've been here for 4 hours. I came out of this and I was like, wow, I was there for 4 hours.
I feel like it's kind of difficult to dance around the subject when we're talking in such wide terms. This is a movie with so many elements. It's a heavy movie. So I think it would be interesting to break it down and debate some more while we discuss about the production. The movie was directed by Victor Fleming, whom we know of because he was also the director of Captain's Courageous, Test Pilot, and the movie we have just recently seen, The Wizard of Oz.
The Wonderful Wizard of Oz.
Fun fact, initially George Cukor was supposed to be the director, but he had some disagreements with the producer regarding film location and the script and other stuff, but his main issue was with the lead actor. And so the production company decided to take Cukor out and replace him with Victor Fleming. Fleming, who was taken away from his still ongoing project at the time, The Wizard of Oz. We have talked about it in our previous video, by the way, you can watch it on this channel. And the movie stars Vivian Leigh as Scarlett O'Hara. Interesting fact here, many big names from Hollywood were test screened and turned down for this role, including names like Katharine Hepburn, Joan Crawford, Norma Shearer, and Bette Davis. The search for the actress who was going to play Scarlett O'Hara was like a big nationwide fiasco. Thousands of applications, more than 1,500 applications came from all over the country. However, they went with Vivian Leigh, who was a British actress and very, very little known in the US at the time. What do you think? Did they make a right choice there?
Yeah, definitely. No, I think she was great in the role. Yeah, again, like talking just in terms of the actress, yeah, I think she was great. The character was also very interesting, but again, the character is married to all this problematic stuff.
I think, if anything, the character is mostly interesting because of her shady character. And
with the difference between like her and, if you remember, Bette Davis and Jezebel, I feel like Scarlett O'Hara is still more likable, right? That there's an element of her that you don't completely reject her. Bette Davis and Jezebel, like you're supposed to hate her and think like, oh man, I hope you get what's coming to you. While Scarlett O'Hara has definite flaws, and a lot of the movies centers around those flaws, but also on a certain point of view, you kind of root for her, right?
Yeah, there are definitely moments when you get behind her character and you feel her strength, her bravery, you know, whatever good qualities she has, and then right away she goes and flips the coin on you. And I have to mention my favorite scene in the whole movie is right before the intermission, the ending of the first part, where she goes out in the field and grabs a root because she's hungry. And then
swear she'll never be hungry again. Yeah.
Right. I always felt like that scene is so powerful. And also, I actually haven't mentioned that before, but I have watched the movie before. I've watched it when I was very, very young. And this is one of the scenes that remained imprinted in my memory, like as a young teenager. It's really impressive to see a female character displaying this amount of strength and determination for a girl that I was back then. I feel like it was a good influence from this point of view, of course.
I wouldn't take any of the influence from this movie if I was you, don't.
In the sense that, you know, female strength and empowerment and only that, if you can isolate that. And at the time, that's all that I saw, really. I understood very little of the rest, which now I understand. The movie also stars Clark Gable as Rhett Butler, whom we've seen before in It Happened One Night, Mutiny on the Bounty, San Francisco, and Test Pilot. Fun fact here, the producer had Clark Gable in mind for the role of Rhett Butler from the moment he bought the rights of the movie. And he had to wait a very long time in order to be able to get the actor. So a little backstory here. As I have mentioned, the movie was distributed by MGM, but the rights to the movie were bought by Selznick International Pictures. He wanted Clark Gable in the role, but he was under contract with MGM, and Gable is one of the few actors that MGM would never lend. He was that good and they wanted to keep him all to themselves. So eventually Selznick made a deal with MGM that they would let Gable play the part and they would pay for half the cost of the production of the movie. Selznick would have to pay Gable's salary, which was very high, him being one of the most prominent actors at the time, and Selznick's company and MGM would split the profits in half.
Oh, good for them. Everybody got rich.
Yeah, very rich actually. We will get to that in a minute.
I mean, this is the highest grossing movie adjusted for inflation, right?
And I thought I was gonna surprise you with that.
No, of course.
Yes, it is. That is true. What do you think of Gable's performance here?
I always like Clark Gable, right? On everything we've seen him in, he was great. He doesn't change here, right? He's a great actor. The character is also very interesting, very much more likable than Scarlett, and yet also flawed, right? So that's an interesting point. But that's how the movie is trying to
right. But that's why
right?
they're a good match
Yeah.
as characters, is because they're both heavily flawed.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that you also made the parallel with Bette Davis's performance in Jezebel, is that I feel like here the male character and the female character really came together so well. Like they were so well balanced on the screen. Remember when we talked about Jezebel, we said that Bette Davis stole the show and
it's just her, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. So I really appreciated that here. I felt like they were such a good pairing, character-wise, but also the actors.
Mm-hmm.
The movie also stars Hattie McDaniel as Mommy, whom we've seen before in Alice Adams. What did you think of her performance?
I think she was very good, right? I guess her being, the main black character here is maybe a good jumping point to get back to one of the themes we were talking about earlier, which is the representation of slavery, one, but also of black people in this movie. With the exception of her character, which I think is more balanced than others, but she's still very stereotypical. The other black characters are doofuses, like slow-witted, very stereotypical, right? The girl with the high-pitched voice and the other...
He's supposed to be the butler, but really in this movie he's not a butler.
He's not much of a butler, right? And when he talks, you're like, oh, you're not all there, right?
That was a little bit odd to me because I have read part of the novel. I'm actually currently reading it, mostly for comparison purposes and curiosity. It doesn't seem to me like those characters are depicted in that way in the novel. It seems like they are more complex and more nuanced characters, same as Mommy's character, but they just like played them down, like toned them down so much here.
But even then, that brings up a whole new issue, right?
Right,
is that
exactly.
They are slaves, they are not employees, they are not friends of the family, and yet that subject never comes up, right? They don't talk about why the North is coming. They don't talk about their opinion about it, right? Do we want to be quote-unquote freed or not? Do we want to side with the Union? No, they have no opinion because apparently they're not even aware they're slaves, right? What's happening here?
So the opinion on McDaniel's appearance, role in this movie, not her performance. Her performance, it's almost unanimously agreed that it was really good. In terms of the role that she played in this movie, some people at the time were accusing her of, giving into such a stereotypical role of, her portrayal of black people during slavery and all of that. To which she gave the now famous answer, probably, I would rather make $700 a week playing a maid than $7 a week being one. On the other hand, there are also, and there were even at the time, voices that supported her appearance in this movie, saying that it is a representation of progress in Hollywood, and hoping that thanks to her playing this role and the recognition that she gets because she gets an Academy Award for this role, the industry will be more open to have black characters, to have black actors play more important roles in movies.
But what will the industry learn, though, would have been my fear at the time if I had seen this. Like you say, there will be more representation now because we've seen her and she's in a movie and she has an important role. Will the industry think, we should cast more black people in all types of roles, or cast more black people as this maids. Type of roles, right? The maid, exactly. The slaves, the doorman, or whatever, right? Which is what we've seen them as in almost all of the movies we've seen, right?
So
with
far.
a few exceptions, very few exceptions.
I think that the general discourse was more that it's a change. At least it's a step, and then you can build on that and move on from there. Yeah,
I don't know. I have a hard time, right, condoning, because again, she does what she has to do. She said it herself, and there's the recognition here. But on the other side, this movie has an agenda. It is actively trying, right, to portray slavery in one way. It is actively trying to portray assault in one way. And so to participate in that is kind of to participate in this whole thing, right?
And it's such a shame, too, because if this movie was not made and if this story had not been written with the intention that it's obviously been written with. There were so many opportunities for this character. I would have liked to see, like, why did she stay with the family? Something deeper, you know?
Yeah.
What are her connections with the people, like her personal connections with the people, you know? Like, I'm not saying that she had to be some, you know, independent fighter for freedom. You can keep the character the way it is, just like give it more depth, you know, give it a story.
And we say agenda, we mean like the movie totally lacks any type of nuances. Quite obviously wants to portray this conflict and the South as the good guys.
Right.
As the victims, has this overall feeling throughout of it wasn't that bad for the black people.
Right.
When Scarlett, right, buys this meal and wants to hire convicts, they're not hired, right? That's the whole thing. Ashley is against it because they're not paid, they'll be mistreated, whipped, and not given enough food.
Yeah.
And he's super against it. But also, he wishes he could go back to the good old time of the plantation.
Right.
I don't understand, right?
And, you know, here's another issue that I have with it, is that you could have told this exact story of this exact family with these exact characters. Just don't ignore the reality of what they're doing.
It's not even that they're ignoring. Again, they're depicting the whole thing in a certain way. Whenever we see those northern soldiers, especially the scene when one of them enters the house, they're evil, they're pervert, they're everything that is bad, right?
And they're depicted in this, like, kind of gross manner.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas the southern people are all, like, elegant.
Gentlemen, honorable.
Exactly.
When Clark Gable's character finally decides to join the war, he's like, I have to fight for this cause. What cause exactly are you fighting for, right? He doesn't say, but the message is clear. This was a just cause.
I'm kind of sad because there are so many other big names that played in this movie that we know of, but really I feel like we're pushing it a bit
long
far.
in the tooth.
So I'm gonna move on and talk a little bit more about the production of this movie. One of the main concerns of the production company was that the actors from Hollywood were completely incapable of speaking with a southern accent. And I mean, like, in general, most actors in Hollywood, unless they happen to be from the South, they couldn't really mimic the accent. So they hired, which I understand was not really a common practice back then, they hired dialect specialists and even like Southern custom and manners specialists, like historians and so on, in order to train the cast to, you know, be able to represent the South in its all true glory.
That was a good idea, I do declare.
I'm Caleb Crawdad, I do declare.
I have to say it totally paid off, because for whatever they showed us, it was believable. It looked and felt like the South, or like whatever I know of the South, because all I know of it is from other movies. But it felt authentic to me. And I mean, we have already criticized this movie, but I think we should talk some more about the criticism that's been brought upon this movie. So first off, at the time when it was first released, obviously the criticism was not present, at least not in the mainstream media. The movie was acclaimed for its technical achievements, scale, ambition. It was recognized for its fidelity to the novel and for its outstanding performances, its actors' outstanding performances. It was, however, criticized at the time for being too long and at times dramatically unconvincing, which I can't really agree with.
I agree it's too long.
Oh yeah, it's too long. I mean, dramatically unconvincing.
No, I think they're convincing. They are great actors. So.
Yeah, I feel like they're really convincing, and I don't feel like it's overly dramatic or, you know, not portraying their... You believe that they believe what they're saying. Mm-hmm. So, however, commentators from the Black community at the time were heavily criticizing the movie. There were protests being organized in numerous cities in front of theaters that were showing the movie. The issues were kept like very quiet in the media, and so nationwide, like,
people were not aware.
It seemed like everybody loves the movie, even though commentators from the Black community were disagreeing or disapproving of the film's depiction of Black people and the glorification of slavery. So people were not unaware of what the movie was doing. If you cared, you knew.
Yeah.
Right? The movie only started to be criticized in mainstream media in the 70s. However, it was only in the 21st century that, real issues and real questions started to be raised in regards to this movie. Not only for its depiction of Black people, but also for perpetuating Civil War myths and stereotypes.
So this is definitely, I gotta admit, part of the feeling I went into the movie with, because I've heard all of these points being brought up, right? Right now when the movie is being talked about, a lot of people talk about the fact that this movie is kind of racist, right? And so when I started the movie, I was kind of apprehensive. I was like, okay, right. Let's go. Let's see
how racist it is.
Let's see what this is, right? And we had watched Jezebel for the previous year. I thought, so this is the kind of things that we're going to have to deal with in Gone with the Wind. And remember my criticizing of Jezebel. Here it is so much worse. Like the people at the time were saying, this movie like actively glorifies this period of time in which slavery was a thing. So glorifies the plantation slavery, the Confederate South, glorifies the Confederation itself, and also like all the myth and stereotypes we've talked about. It was surprising after I've watched the movie how much of it was in your face, right? As if they were not aware of what they were doing. I brought up that whole scene with the convict earlier, and I was so surprised seeing that scene with Ashley being so against using prisoners who were not going to be paid and were going to be mistreated, and yet he wasn't that much against slavery, right, from what the movie is showing us. And I thought, like, are you that unaware of what you're filming, or are you just trying to shove it down our mouth so much? Because those convicts are white and the slaves are black, and that's the difference, right? And it's funny how, in a way, insidious it is, right? It is very obvious and at the same time not obvious because they never actively say it, right? Clark Gable's character never walks around saying, man, slavery isn't that great, right? But when he goes back to fight and say, I have to protect this cause, right? The main cause at the center of the Civil War was slavery. So what exactly are you saying, right? And all the characters do that, right? They talk about the good old days. They don't say why it was better then than now, right? It's so weird how insidious it is. But I wonder, what about you? Like you say, you've watched the movie before and now you've watched it again, like years later.
Yeah, so, when I watched it the first time, as I said, I was very young. I was somewhere between the ages of 12 and 14. And very much unaware of the American history in general. Like, I knew there had been slavery. I know there was the Civil War. And after that, there was no more slavery. Very, generic knowledge that I had. And so watching this movie, I was completely unaware of the background that the movie is, built on.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea, who in this story are the slavers, I was unaware that it even was about slavery so much,
But that's my thing, right? They don't really say.
Exactly. And I feel like that's something that we should also talk about is the danger of a movie like this. That when shown to people, and thanks to its, worldwide recognition and distribution, people from all over the world are watching this movie, and have watched this movie over the past 90 years or so.
So that's their image of pre-Civil War South.
Exactly. So that's the image that I had of it. I thought, things were nice and beautiful in that country before, then there was a war and things went bad. Yeah. You believe it because you don't really know more than that. And of course, there's no excuse for ignorance, but a movie like this, not only this one, but other movies like this obviously contribute to keeping people ignorant on matters like this. And so I think that more so than just what the movie does, and for you and me now, who we can watch it and criticize it and know what to take from it, and at some level still appreciate what there is to be appreciated about the movie, like the actors and technological
I appreciate the craft, I don't appreciate the message.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
But we can separate that. There are so many people out there who can't, unfortunately. To contribute to the movie's recognition here, we are moving on to the awards that the movie was nominated for and received, the Academy Awards, of course, I'm talking about here. So first off, this is the winner for Best Picture of the year 1939. And the movie also won the following awards: Best Actress in a Leading Role for Vivian Leigh, Best Actress in a Supporting Role for Hattie McDaniel, making McDaniel the first ever African-American actress to win an Academy Award, Best Director for Victor Fleming, Best Writing Screenplay for Sidney Howard, Best Cinematography Color for Ernest Haller and Ray Renan, Best Art Direction for Lyle R. Wheeler, and Best Film Editing for Hall C. Kern and James E. Newcomb. But that's not all, because the movie was also nominated for Best Actor in a Leading Role for Clark Gable, Best Actress in a Supporting Role for Olivia de Havilland, Best Sound Recording for Thomas T. Moulton, Best Effects, Special Effects for Jack Cosgrove, Fred Albin and Arthur Jones, and Best Music Original Score for Max Steiner. And that's not all. The movie also received 2 honorary or special awards from the Academy. It won the Best Technical Achievement Award for R.D. Musgrave for pioneering in the use of coordinated equipment in the production of the movie. And it also won an honorary award for William Cameron Menzies for outstanding achievement in the use of color for the enhancement of dramatic mood in the production of the movie. Is there anything else that you would like to talk about in regards to this movie? Any scene in particular that you want to...
Yeah, no, I feel like I'm just rambling at this point, so I think we're good.
I think maybe to end on a slightly positive note, we did mention how much we appreciated the movie for the way it looks.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I wanted to mention, mostly just to insert some clips here that I will put now on the screen, the way the movie looks. There are some scenes that are really impressive. I wanted to specifically mention the scene when Scarlett goes looking for the doctor and arrives, I think it's near a train station, where all the wounded people from the war are just laying on the ground, and the camera pans out into like a semi-circular motion, and we get to see, you know, more of the people as she starts walking between them. I felt like that scene was really impressive. Like, it's the first time we see something, you know, that big, filmed at that scale and with that many details.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely the movie is beautiful on the technical level.
Yeah. So here comes the question. Would you recommend this movie?
I would not recommend this movie. And again, this movie is not all bad, right? And there are some parts of it that are actually great. Again, the actors are all great. Like you said, on the technical level, it is great. The music is great. The composition, the colors, all of that. But this movie, I can't, in good conscience, tell someone to watch this, especially, like you said, after it's spent the last 60, 70, 80 years,
Yeah.
right? Spreading this message, this view of the pre-Civil War South. This movie is short of being propaganda, all right? Like, it is that close to that. And so I can't recommend anyone watching this.
I will resonate with what you just said. Knowing how it influenced me when I first watched it, I could not, like you said, in good consciousness, tell people to watch this movie knowing that they might have the same wrong impression of it. Mm-hmm. Or they might actually, fall under the spell that this movie casts upon you with its otherwise beautiful cinematography. Mm-hmm. And I have to say, it does make me sad. I feel like this is one of those moments when it's like...
don't meet your heroes.
Right, exactly. Or when some internet post ruins your favorite childhood cartoon. Mm-hmm. It kind of feels like that because I liked it, but I can't like it anymore, But yeah, all in all, I would not recommend it. And that being said, I think it is time now for us to move on to the ranking. As some of you might already know, every year we are ranking all the Best Picture nominees of that respective year according to our likings and preferences. Currently, we are ranking the movies nominated at the 12th Academy Awards, the 1939 movies. And our ranking as of now is at number 9, Ninochka, at number 8, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, at number 7, Goodbye Mr. Chips, at number 6, Dark Victory, at number 5, Stagecoach, at number 4, Love Affair, at number 3, The Wizard of Oz, at number 2, Wuthering Heights, and at number 1 of Mice and Men.
As I was thinking about where to put this movie, I was reminded of a little movie called The Good Earth.
That's where my mind went to.
And so The Good Earth, for those who are not aware, is a movie a bit like this one in the sense that very interesting story, very beautiful visual. The craft itself is not where the complaints come from, but heavily whitewashed, right? We have white people playing Asian characters, not always in a tasteful manner. Throughout the ranking, every time we talked about The Good Earth, we were like, yeah, it lost some ranking spots, right, for the nature of the movie. And here I was thinking, how much should I deduct from Gone with the Wind?
You know, and it's difficult because I'll be honest right now. And that's a big if it didn't have the issues that it does with the depiction of black characters, of slavery, of, the Southern Confederacy propaganda and all of that, I feel like this might have been the one time we agree with the Academy. The story was the core story, of the main character was interesting. Performance-wise, it was great. Technically speaking, stunning, just so beautiful. I feel like
fire, we haven't talked about it, but that fire scene is so beautiful. I say beautiful, so striking.
Right. So many good elements went into making this movie, except
but
for
also,
its message.
You can't split those things,
exactly.
Right? The message is at the core of the whole movie. So I was thinking of how much should I deduct and where should it be placed. And in the end, I'm kind of two minds because I'm also aware that you're a fan of this movie, and
was.
Here's what I'm going to say to pray, as a forward to what I'm going to do here. This movie is better made than a lot of the movies on this list.
Yes, I agree with that.
I will admit to that. However, this movie, again, is just some bullshit propaganda, and I will put it at number 10.
Really?
Yes.
That's hard.
And then, I know you're torn, right? I don't know where you wanted to put it. If you are going above 5, I will not stand by it.
No, I wasn't really... I mean, you know what? I was actually thinking 5 or 6. So we have had a long conversation off screen here, behind the camera.
Yes.
And we have agreed to put it...
at number 8.
Right.
Again, like I was saying, right... Gone with the Wind is a better made movie than a lot of the movies on this list. I just have a fundamental problem with what it's trying to do and the message that it's trying to portray. In that sense, right, I can't put it above Goodbye, Mr. Chip, which is such a heartwarming movie and is such a beautiful story. Mr. Smith Goes to Washington and Inochka, also politically questionable.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Biased, obviously. So, yeah, I feel like in that aspect, we can... put Gone with the Wind above them for its other qualities. Exactly. So there you go. There you have it. Our ranking of the 1939 Academy Awards Best Picture nominees is at number 10, Inochka, at number 9, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, at number 8, Gone with the Wind, at number 7, Goodbye Mr. Chips, at number 6, Dark Victory, at number 5, Stagecoach, at number 4, Love Affair, at number 3, The Wizard of Oz, at number 2, Wuthering Heights, and at number 1, Of Mice and Men.
The best late schemes. So, this is it.
This was not an easy movie to review. And if you have already watched this movie, if you haven't, don't. But if you have already watched it, let us know what you thought about it in the comment section below, but also by rating it on our website. The link will be in the description box below. And don't forget, we have watched this movie as part of our bucket list goal to watch every Best Picture nominee from 1927 to 2028. To this day, we have watched 107 movies as part of this goal. And with this movie, we have now completed 12 years of the Academy Awards. Yay! Also, the next movie we're gonna be watching is All This and Heaven 2. Also, the next movie that we're gonna be watching is All This and Heaven 2. So, if you want to follow us along in this goal, I invite you to go watch that movie and then come back for our next review. But if you don't want to miss that review, I invite you to subscribe to this channel right now. The button is below, right there. Wait. There? Yes. Like this video if you did, and don't forget that if you yourself have a goal or a dream that you would like to realize, take that first step. Bye bye.
Bye.